Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and in today's video we're going to take a look at a game that I had in the Grozovoi, the Tier 10 Soviet destroyer. I'm divisioned up with my buddy ElasticSpyder, and he's playing in a Grozovoi as well, and we're playing some domination here on the map, Mountain Range. So this is a replay that comes from the 0.6.3 test server last weekend-ish. It lasted for about 5 or 6 days up till the 27th of March, and I was able to try out a few of the different builds with the great stealth fire nerf, of course, and I just wanted to see how various ships worked. And one of the key things that came out of that patch is that the Grozovoi got a couple of buffs. When this thing first was released, when the Russian destroyers got split, it was in a very bad shape. The ship is well known for its AA potency, at least it was when the ship was first released back in January. I'm sure plenty of you watched Flamu's stream highlight on his channel where he was able to down like 60 planes with the incredible AA that this ship had at that point. And the other thing about the Soviet DDs at that time is that this ship has 1,800 damage with a max roll on your high explosive shells, while at that time the other Soviet destroyers only had 1,600. Well, a couple of patches later, and this ship is, at least in its current state, a little better off. What is bad about it? Well, the AA was significantly nerfed. The high explosive shells on all the other Soviet destroyers, at least the high tier ones, got buffed to 1,900. So the Kaba, the Udaloy, the Tashkent, all of the Soviet destroyers that you would see in the normal matchmaking with this ship, well, they have 100 better hit points, or not hit points, they have 100 better potential damage on a max roll with their shells. So that's for starters. Another thing is that this ship does not have the characteristic very ultra-high speeds that you're used to with Soviet DDs. For instance, the Khabarovsk, of course, with its base speed of like 43 knots is ridiculous. The Udaloy is a little faster at 40. So compared to other Soviet destroyers, this is the slowest of the bunch. You can see here in a full turn to port, I'm only going 34.7 knots. And another thing is you're seeing right here, the maneuverability is very shoddy on this thing, at least in terms of its turning radius and its rudder shift time. This thing is also an extremely large destroyer. It's about twice the length of a Udaloy. So when this thing gets hit by armor-piercing rounds from cruisers, destroyers, and battleships, it takes an amazing amount of AP damage, which is something that you really do have to be careful of. And also the engine power on the ship is rather lackluster too. It takes a long time to get moving forward. It takes a long time to slow down. You can see here, it's taken me a very long time to speed up, and I do indeed have the equipment piece that gets my engine 50% faster speeding up, and you can see here it's just taking such a long time. And if, for instance, there was a radar cruiser in the vicinity and I was detected, everybody would have just such a long time to shoot at me that I would be hemorrhaging my 24,000 hit points very, very fast indeed. But the good things about the ship, there are indeed some good things with the new patch. For instance, the reload was reduced from 5 to 4.2 seconds. So with a full gunboat build with BFT, AFT, you get the range out to a decent 12.5. That was something that was also buffed as well. It also had very, very poor range. It was like 10 kilometers stock, which is horrible for Tier 10. Tier 5 destroyers could outrange this thing. But now with something like Adrenaline Rush, AFT, and BFT, you can get this gunboat into what you'd normally expect of a Soviet destroyer. But another thing is that since it's on the main destroyer line, you actually get very workable torpedoes. They have a range of 10 kilometers. The Des Moines slowed down to get some shots at me, and he is certainly going to pay for this. I managed to slam home 4 torpedoes into that American cruiser and get a very nice kill at the beginning of the game, up to 73,000 points of damage already with a solo base cap, and of course that almost full health Des Moines taken care of. So a very, very nice start to the game for me here in the Grozovoi. So yeah, it's a ship that has, it really did need some love. And this is not a case of Russian bias. It really was underpowered. When people are saying that the Z-52 is much, much better than this thing, that's kind of an issue because the Z-52 certainly is not top tier amongst the Tier 10 destroyers. I'm now looking for some shots here on one of the enemy Khabarovsks, the Tier 10 Soviet destroyer on the so-called large destroyer or flotilla leader line. And this is a situation that, well, he is very, very out of position. He's going to run aground here as he takes a massive amount of AP damage there from quite a few of the friendly ships over there, and the Minotaur is able to take care of business. Now, at this point, myself and Spider, we wanted to push into B. The Grozovoi has a pretty decent detectability range. With my build that I have on it, it's not bad. It's about at the same level as what the old Z-52 used to be. I believe it's 6.8 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken. 6.9, there it is, as my detection range goes back to normal. So 6.9, not bad. That is a full concealment build on the ship. But, hey, it works out. So at this point, there is an enemy destroyer on B, and we do manage to lose the Minotaur. So we are now losing the game 292 to 323, but this is an engagement that you do want to get in. I'm shooting against a Gearing here. We're on more or less parallel courses. He's 7.5 kilometers away. One really good thing about the guns is that the shell flight speed of these coming out of the barrel is 1,000 meters a second. So these shells take no time at all to get to the target as I land a 3K of AP right into the side of that Gearing. A very, very nice hit. And that's something that you can utilize in these the Grozovoi against a Gearing and a Z52 because they're also extremely thick as well. And it's the same thing against its contemporary too. You get some very nice AP damage on the broadside. My buddy Spyder is blind firing into the smoke and he manages to take out the Gearing. So a very nice play by him as he picks up, I believe, his first kill of the game too. And we've now pulled the scores back in our favor. So how do you play the Grozovoi? Well, I don't have the ship on my regular account. I got to the Utiloi and I bought the Kaba right before the split came. So I did rebuy the Utiloi, but when this thing first came out, like I said, it was in a very poor shape, so I just decided to sell it. A bit of an error on my part. But I think that with the stealth firing, the stealth firing nerf, of course, you really do need to go Superintendent, which I was running in this game, and you need to be more of that smoke build kind of destroyer. You're not going to be like a Kaba where you don't necessarily need to go with Superintendent, although if you do go with the light cruiser build, so to speak, where you have the repairs, I definitely recommend that. But the ship is just more of a typical destroyer. You know, use your torpedoes whenever you can. Concentrate on your guns, get in smoke, get into caps, just, you know, American destroyer things, so to speak. So it's something that the ship, it now does all right. And again, when you have something on it like, I can never remember the name of that tier 2 skill. I have no idea why. Adrenaline Rush, that's it. When you start to take some damage in the ship, you're going to get your reload down to below 4 seconds, which is actually pretty nice. So that's a competitive fire rate to go against other destroyers. Not necessarily a Gearing at very close ranges, but at 7 kilometers and up, it's a very competitive rate of fire. Anyway, I'm getting some long-range shots here now at the enemy Bismarck, who's about 10.5 kilometers away, and I am, managing quite a few fires here. I was not running Demo Expert at this time, but the fire chance on Soviet DDs is always wonderful, so it's something that, is certainly potential for making a build out of it. And right now I'm just farming damage on these battleships. My friendly battleships are pushing through C, so all I'm trying to do is help these guys out as much as I can. As a nice salvo flies in on the Bissy right there. I'm just trying to light them on fire, get them to burn their damage con, make it a lot easier for our guys to take care of business. The enemy Yamato on the other side of the map manages to take out our friendly Montana, and now you're going to see here the AP on the broadside of this Yamato, and this is still Soviet AP at the end of the day. It's still going to do a very good amount of damage. There we go, back-to-back 2,500 point salvos right there. A couple ricochets, but you got to aim above the waterline, well above the waterline, right where the superstructure meets the deck. You're going to be able to get very consistent damage. As you can see here, the majority of these salvos are over 2,000 damage, and once again, another very solid salvo of over 1,000. The Yamato goes broadside and gets absolutely schmammered right there. I think I just made that word up, but nonetheless, continue to get some very good shots into him, and then as he turns away, I switch right on back to the high explosive, and hopefully I'll be able to lay another fire. Now, I make a very, very bad mistake that I almost get heavily punished for. You can see there that off to my starboard side, there is an enemy battleship that's moving in Gulf 6. And as I move out of my smoke, I get detected, but I'm actually turning in towards this guy, and it was something that I was just so focused on trying to help kill this Yamato that I completely lost track of it. And there's also an enemy destroyer in the objective at B as well, as the enemy Yamato gets destroyed. And right as I'm starting to turn back, I realize this. One of the cruisers shoots me. I believe it was the Edinburgh. I take about 3,000 through the butt, and then one shell from the Yami does 7,600 damage, as he's only 7.6 kilometers away. So at this point, I can't shoot. I have to get undetected. That 7.6 kilometer away Yami is far enough away where I will be able to go undetected, and there we go. I do indeed so. So there was no point for me to shoot the guns right there because I still got 25 seconds left until the smoke comes back, so all it would have presented is his secondary is a very nice snack to munch on. So I launch my torpedoes, my second nice torpedo salvo of the game at the Yamato, and we'll see what we're going to be able to do here. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to smoke my buddy in the Grozovoi stop, but him continuing to push in towards the Yamato is better for him because he's going to have the turret traverse and the brutal firepower to be able to deal with that guy. So at this this point, I'm just going to try to swing back around, pop smoke, and once again, try to get that Yemi on fire. Unfortunately, both of the torpedoes slam right into the side of the torpedo belt. I only do a very mediocre 12,000 points of damage, but we all know that the Yemi has a wonderful torpedo belt anyway, so it's not necessarily surprising. Now I'm getting some good shots here into him, and he is making a horrendous play, and I really don't know what to say. He's got a decent amount of hit points, about 75,000, and then all of a sudden, just boom. The Courier War certainly makes him pay. So now I'm going to switch to the armor piercing as I'm getting the cap here on Objective Charlie, and I'm going to be able to get a nice assisted base cap. And there we go, about another 2,500 point salvo. This AP is no joke hitting up there. And our friendly Yami manages to take him out as well. So as you can see on the damage counter at the top right, my damage has spiked considerably. I'm up to 157,000 points of damage. A whole host of ribbons and medals up there. It's very nice stuff. Do have, of course, that one ship destroyed, the Des Moines, and so far, so good. Yeah, I made that horrible play coming out of the smoke and not paying attention, but other than that one really bad mistake, I think that I've played the Grozovoi pretty well. I'm playing to the strengths, and you can see here that losing that bit of hit points, I still got 10k left. It's alright. This thing comes with about 20,000 hit points if you don't run Survivability Expert, but it's a Soviet DD. I highly suggest doing so. But one quick thing, I really do enjoy the premium paint, and the ship, aesthetically anyway, it looks very, very nice, and I think a lot of you guys watching this replay would agree with me on that. So, right here, getting some very nice cinematic footage as I continue to pump more rounds into the enemy Edinburgh. Now, this is a very bold play that I'm making here, as the one Courier Wars managed to get a double strike on our team, so we're losing the game yet again. This is a very bold play, even at 11 kilometers. If I take a couple of shells here, as I do manage to take care of the Courier Wars, I must have put him on, like, no health, or somebody must have put him on no health right as my shells landed. Pick up my second kill of the game, and at this point, I'm doing what Soviet DDs do best, just trying to dodge around and not get hit from return fire while pumping up some good DPM on the enemy ships. I do manage to set the Edinburgh on fire, and now I go undetected. So very good stuff. I turn him away from the cap, and now I'm going to try and get on Objective Bravo. So the game is still in doubt here. There's 848 left, and I need to stay alive for my team. I'm the last destroyer left. My buddy Spider unfortunately died some time ago. I didn't catch it. And now the Edinburgh looks like he's smoking himself up, but it could be one of the two enemy destroyers that are remaining in the game. So I have to be very careful. So I'm kind of waiting for my team to push into B with me. You can see the friendly Yamato just off to my starboard side. I tell him in chat, hey man, let's get into B with me. He still has the majority of his hit points left, 94,000 to be exact, almost all of it. So I want him to help push into me. In with me to Objective Bravo. So in these mid to late game situations with this ship, when you've lost quite a few hit points, but your adrenaline rush is kicking in, you still have to play it a bit cautiously. And again, the reason why is because this thing, again, takes massive amounts of damage from everything. It's absolutely insane. A Khabarovsk shooting AP at your side. I know I mentioned it earlier. You'd be amazed at how fast. It's like 3 or 4K a pop. I'm not joking. It's pretty crazy stuff. So at this point, I'm going to launch my third set of torpedoes, I believe, into that smoke screen. And we'll see what we're going to be able to do. There is no enemy destroyer on the cap at B, so that's a very good thing to know. What that means is that I just realized the two enemy destroyers are actually going after the carrier and the rune over there. Completely did not see that. Anyway, launching torpedoes into that smoke screen, so it's safe to cap B. Obviously, I am detected by aircraft right now, very unfortunately, and as I start to turn back to port, some shells from the Edinburgh come in, and look at that damage. Almost 6,000, and luckily for me, that enemy Yamato, as I slow down and miss the next salvo from the Edinburgh. Luckily for me, he was not looking at me or had his secondaries trained on me, or I would have been a dead man. The Edinburgh blind fires just a little bit high. I get very lucky right there. And unfortunately, I'm down to about 4,000 hit points. Actually, 4,000 on the dot. Very good stuff. You can see the reload now is down to about 4.1 seconds, so that's very good, of course. And I'm just trying to burn the Yamato down. My torpedoes just barely missed the Edinburgh. He was able to stick his nose into that island just enough to not take my torpedo and be able to take care of business. So now I'm just trying to hurt this guy, this enemy Yamato. Now, our friendly Yamato makes a horrible play here, and I want to point this out. He's got basically twice the amount of hit points as this guy. The enemy Yamato is going to go for the ram. This guy, in all of his power, needs to not get rammed because he's trading over double the amount of hit points for nothing. And we lose another battleship, and we're still losing the game. That ram, it didn't help our team out whatsoever. I still need to cap B. I'm still worried about that Edinburgh coming back around. We still have another battleship or two with us, but like, that was a poorly thought out ram. There was no need for him. He should have done everything in his power to get out of the way. I understand that tier 10 battleships are very immaneuverable. I get that. But I never really go for ram. I only have one diehard, and it was done in a destroyer where I T-boned another destroyer. Going for a ram, unless you are guaranteed going to die, which that Yamato was not. Unless you're guaranteed going to die, well, then I can understand going for it. But that was just not a good play. Anyway, managed to solo cap my second objective of the game. This is going to be a very nice outcome for me. And I launched one set of torpedoes to the left of the island and one set of torpedoes to the right. One thing I did forget to mention is that the stock torpedoes, yes, the ship does indeed have stock torpedoes, only have a range of 8 kilometers. You need to get a decent bit of XP, I think like 25, 30,000, to get the upgraded torpedoes, which tack on 2 kilometers worth of range, and I believe that is it. However, I still do feel a bit comfortable here. You can see that the Rune has been dealing with that enemy destroyer up at A10 almost at the corner of the map because, well, this is the PTS, and there are a lot of weird things that happen. So the Rune does manage to get the kill, so now we only have to deal with the Edinburgh and the enemy CV. But that Edinburgh has been a very good player so far in the game, and we'll see if that is... we'll see if we have enough to deal with him. So it's just him and the carrier, and we do have 2 of the caps. So now we've forced the enemy's hand, albeit at some very, very weird deployment strategies by both sides. At this point, friendly Yamato is going to move into Objective Alpha. I pointed it out, hey, there is an Edinburgh around the corner. Obviously, he's not going to have enough Alpha to be able to nuke the Yamato with both sides of torpedoes if he manages to get him off. So that's why I'm going to take the long way. Instead of going with the Yamato, in the rare chance that that Edinburgh would actually be sitting there, I at least want to, you know, account for all the options that are at play here. So I'm going to swing around. Maybe I'll get a cheap spot on the guy. Who knows? The Edinburgh with a full concealment build is 9 kilometers. So we'll see if my gamble... Well, maybe it's not a gamble. I'm trying to cover all the bases here. I want to, you know, explore as much ocean as possible. And, you know, maybe he's waiting for me right behind the island. But then again, the Yamato that's pushing through very slowly would probably have spotted him by now if he was in F5. So I feel pretty comfortable to go around. And at this point, I'm going to go towards Objective Alpha. So, what have you guys seen so far? The guns are pretty good performing. Torpedoes are usable. This thing does take a lot of damage. And the maneuverability is suspect. But it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be when the ship first came out. So I suppose that buying the Utiloi and grinding up to get this is another tier 10 in the port. It'll be in the cards someday, but I have plenty of other tier 10s that I need to work for. I'm at the Ibuki, at the Dmitry Donskoy, I'm at the Fletcher, I'm at the Baltimore. There's plenty of other tier 10s that I need to continue to grind on, and the Izumo too. So maybe sometime in the future, but I did enjoy playing the ship on the PTS, and I probably will play it some more with further patches that do come out. So yeah, the ship, it's good. It took me quite some time to get a result like this. I will be able to go over 200k. Right as the enemy CV does get spotted, so obviously I'm going to get my guns working on him. The Edinburgh has actually made a nice 180 and went around the island and is on the objective. But yeah, it took a little bit to get a result like this, but at the end of the day, you know, you can still make this thing work. The friendly Yamato manages to shoot his 2 front guns at the Essex, scores a decent hit, about 10k, and all I'm trying to do is just set this guy ablaze. And the Edinburgh is actually going to start shooting at me, and I actually wasn't paying attention, and all of a sudden the shells fly in. So I'm tunnel visioning here a little bit as I continue to shoot at the Yamato, and I will take a couple of shells here very shortly. Still at 4,000 hit points, getting some good health points deleted off of that carrier. There we go, take a decent hit from the Edinburgh, and it was about now that I realized, as I pick up high caliber, that I need to keep running away. The Yamato shells go right through the nose of the Essex, so I'm going to keep on peppering this guy. Hopefully I'll be able to pick up my 3rd kill of the game. Looking for a fire here. Again, the fire chance on this destroyer is pretty good. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I think it's like 9 or 10%, which is very good for a destroyer. More shells flying in. Will I be able to get the kill? I put him on less than 1,000 hit points, and no. The Yamato's secondaries take care of business. More Edinburgh shells fall just harmlessly off the stern. I'm up to 217,000 points of damage, so a very nice result here. And now I'm going to be able to get my 2nd assisted base cap of the game in short order here. So very, very good stuff. 1 minute and 19 seconds left in the game. It's 868 to 627. Now I'm swinging my way back towards Objective Bravo, and hopefully we'll be able to get this last kill and secure a nice hard-fought victory here on the map Mountain Range. Continue to go. There we go. get the assisted capture. And any second now, the Edinburgh is going to show himself. He's going to make a yellow charge for the Amagi. But we just had too many battleships in this game that had a significant portion of health. And there we go. There he is at 11 kilometers. Just too many battleships, too much health at the end of the game to deal with. And unfortunately, when they have cruisers and destroyers to deal with a bunch of battleships, if they don't play it perfectly, they're going to die very quickly. I do set a fire, and as the Edinburgh throws one last salvo at me, he dies. What a game here in the Grozovoi. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results, about 610,000 credits received, about 9,000 total XP, pick up Confederate high caliber, and a devastating strike on the Des Moines, 217,000 points of damage done, off of 419 shell hits and 6 torpedoes that caused 4 floodings and 10 fires. I picked up 2 kills of my own, got 2 solo base caps, and 2 assisted base captures. Taking a look at the team score, almost 3k base XP, 2,944. A very, very solid game here in the Grozovoi. And my buddy Spider, with a full AA spec, even though it was nerfed, still managed to shoot down 25 planes of his own and had a pretty respectable 1524. And he had a kill as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this replay of the Grozovoi, new and improved, so to speak. I enjoyed it. It's not bad. Again, I'm going to get the ship someday on my regular account, and I think I'll do fine in it. I think it was pretty fun to play, and overall, I enjoyed the test server, although I'm definitely not a fan of the stealth firing nerf. With all that being said, Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships. Please like the video, comment, or possibly subscribe. All of it is appreciated. I enjoy the banter that we have with you guys in the comments section. And with that being said, have a great day. Thank you.